Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Deborah Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to chat, and you get a special Wednesday bonus edition because we tried to go live on Monday. And there was a bit of an outage you may or may not have heard. Anyway, luckily, my wonderful guests, Jim Fuhs and Bob Woods, were available today. And here's the funny thing. We might not have gone live, but we ended up chatting about Substack for an hour and a half. So that's what you get when you are in the tribe. On camera, off camera, we're going to find things to jaw about. Anyway, Jim, I've known for, did we figure out ever? A lot of different years.
Well, I'll just say pre-COVID.
Yeah,
That seems like a long time ago.
Well, yeah, pre-COVID and Bob post-COVID, although I don't know how it took so long for our paths to cross.
Yeah, that is a good question.
That's a puzzler. But anyway,
Yeah.
Both Jim and Bob have been jumping really hard into Substack. And I love, because I've been playing with it, not nearly as much, but I feel the motivation coming on. And Jim was actually on a couple months ago talking Substack, and it was an interesting panel because at that point, I mean, let's face it, you are the Substack expert. And it was funny because we had Vivica von Rosen, who I met Bryn through, who I met Bob through, on at the same time, as well as my friend Kat Neff, who does PR as a big consumer of Substack. But the topic is too big and too wonderful to leave it at that. So I invited Jim back. And this was the best part. Viv interviewed Jim. I was talking about it to Bob. Bob said, I need to interview Jim for Social Sales Link or Selling Made Social, Sales Made Social.
Making Sales Social podcast.
I was so close.
You were very close.
I kept going.
It's just the order.
Yeah, social making sales, something like that. Yep.
If I kept going, I probably would have gotten it right eventually, right? Anyway, so you interviewed Jim. So when the topic came up, I'm like, let's just hang out. So, but you might, and it's Wednesday. I'm not on Wednesday brain. It's Wednesday and I have Monday. It doesn't matter. We are so glad you're here. You might be watching this as Goal Chat Live. You might be watching the replay. You might even be listening to us as the Goal Chat Podcast on Marketing Podcast Network. No matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here to jump into Substack with me and my amazing guest, who I will let introduce themselves, because right now, you just know that they're awesome, which may be true. I feel like you might want to know a little bit more about them.
Well,
Jim, welcome. Great to have you here.
Yeah. So I'm Jim Fuhs. I'm the president of Fusion Marketing. I do marketing the Marine Corps way, and actually got interviewed on, I think it was LinkedIn, and I think it got brought over to Substack, and it was an audio thing, and I kind of told the story of how I bring my Marine Corps background into marketing. But I've really dove into Substack more so on the video side. As we talked about the other day, I told you a little bit about my my writing experiences. But I really see the power of creating video on Substack, whether live or recorded, and repurposing it with text and clips and other things to really drive your message across to gain subscribers, and the beauty of email. And I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, not too far from Bob. At least it's within driving distance. He's in a beautiful part of the country that I have some good and bad memories of. But I'll let him talk about that stuff.
Awesome, Bob. I didn't even need to introduce you. Welcome.
Yeah,
jump on in.
I'm just gonna just kind of be quiet at this point. No, so I'm Bob Woods. I'm Chief Product Officer at Social Sales Link. Also do what we mainly do is training and consulting and coaching when it comes to using what we call social selling for mainly on LinkedIn. We are now figuring out how to integrate Substack into that as well, because we do see that as another great channel, and we're still trying to figure out exactly how that's going to work in terms of how we train on it. But unlike Jen, I've been focusing mainly on the posts and the notes side of things. I've got maybe like 10 or 11 articles which are called posts over on Substack. They're called articles on LinkedIn. And so there's always a little bit of mental gymnastics there, because a LinkedIn post is different from a Substack post. And then, LinkedIn has articles, which is like a Substack post. And then Substack note is like a LinkedIn post. And my mind just kind of melts down at that point when it comes to figuring all that stuff out. But, Substack I find it fascinating. I don't think it's ever going to completely and totally replace LinkedIn, but there are advantages to Substack over LinkedIn. That being said, LinkedIn is still the place to build relationships because of the first degrees and the second degrees and all the training that we have when it comes to that. But when it comes to specifically content, especially because LinkedIn gates so much of its content and it's not available anywhere. You can't. It's tough to find on Google except for the actual articles. But Substack is out there, man. And there are a lot of other advantages to Substack over LinkedIn too. And we're just, like I said, we're trying to figure that out so that we can integrate it more, so that people can take advantage of Substack as well as LinkedIn to build their businesses so that they can start sales conversations without being salesy, which Deborah, I know, is very familiar with that phrase.
Well, and I say this a lot lately, it's all about the networking, it's the relationship. But the word
Mhm.
networking gets such a bad rap because people be, oh, networking. It's like when you meet people, when you go somewhere and you meet new people,
Mhm.
networking, but it's really the first step in relationship development. But networking isn't just for in person, it's for
Mhm.
online, and I did my book proposal podcast this week, where I'm answering frequently asked questions about book proposals and the traditional book publishing podcast. The one I answered was, what is your author platform? It's everywhere you show up on and offline.
Mm.
But that's like, it's not author specific. It's just how you be, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is so wonderful about Substack is it's a new playground.
Yeah. Without a
We're
doubt.
having fun with it. I always like to think of, with social media, I was in the end of the early adopters. So
Mhm.
right before people started blogging and social media got mainstream. So 2007, 2008, that area is when I started my first write-on group. And it was before everything changed. I mean, if you went in the Wayback Machine and looked at what social media was like, very MySpace adjacent, I feel like, in the first round or two, to now, um, when there are new platforms like Substack that has the opportunity to it's like clay. People are using it as like an extension of LinkedIn, but there's so many other opportunities. And
Yes.
you're the guest, and I keep talking. So before we dive into the ways to use Substack, how do you define it? What is Substack, and what is the best for you? And I know you said you do video, Jim. Bob does more articles, but what is Substack and what makes it unique to other platforms? Oh, that's a good question. Let's do that one.
I would say, from a category design standpoint, what Substack is, and I got this from Christopher Lockhead of the Category Pirates, it's direct to creator platform. Because when you sign up with Substack and you subscribe, like when I subscribe to Bob or Bob subscribed to me, and we're now directly connected. We have that one-to-one connection, even without a friend request or a connection request. There's no, hey, would you connect with me? It's like we're connected automatically. And so direct to creator is very powerful, because you're now have that ability to build community and build relationships, which I know Bob is all about, much quicker than you can with others. But to do that, you have to go into some of the things that Bob is focusing on, which I think is extremely important.
Okay, Bob, definition, please.
Yeah, so so I'm going to as we say, not only a social sales link, but in the world of improv comedy, I'm going to yes
Yes,
and
and
I'm going to yes and that, because I'm coming at it a little bit more from a content standpoint. I I view at least what I'm doing right now with Substack as almost being my publication of record, to bring in an old journalism thing, which my deep background is actually in journalism. So I used to think of LinkedIn like that. I definitely am thinking now of Substack like that, in terms of um, easy discoverability. Some of the things going on with the LinkedIn algorithm right now aren't really good for discoverability. There are kind of ways around that, but for like most people who don't know their ways, it kind of sucks, to be quite honest with you. And Substack really removes a lot of that. The algorithm for discoverability when it comes to the notes is much more transparent. You actually see the people who you follow and who you subscribe to on Substack, which on LinkedIn anymore, you don't really see that because of their algorithm. And as they keep on doing that more and more and more, it's like, you can use LinkedIn for content, and there are ways to specifically do that. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't use LinkedIn for that anymore, because you still got to be seen on LinkedIn for what we do. But if you're really doing like good quality content, stuff that's not salesy, stuff that content that brings value to people, that brings the type of value, like when they read an article of yours, which is what I always aim for, which is bring people something that they haven't known about before, teach them about it, and then something, if they look at the article and they're like, oh, I want to reach out to Bob, to find out more, send them to LinkedIn and they can connect with me on LinkedIn. But if they also just want to read the article and go, that's what I need to do, that's how I'm going to do it, they can actually just do it based on the article.
Yes, and I would say one of
Oh,
the
you
things I
said
love
yes
about
and too.
it did that Bob talked about is the fact that, like, I have not given up on LinkedIn. In fact,
Yeah,
I will take some of my content that I create on Substack and then I put it in my LinkedIn newsletter.
yeah, that's
And a
great.
little bit of is A/B testing, because I'm curious to see, because at the end of that LinkedIn newsletter, I'll purposely, like in my Substacks, a lot of times I will include the video as a part of the post for people, if they don't want to read, they can watch, right? Because people learn differently. But on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
if they want to watch the video, they have to come over to Substack.
Yep.
So that's how I'm looking, as a way to come on over. The water's fine. And
Yeah, it's
so,
warm.
but I've also noticed too, and Bob, I don't know if you've seen this, and I think it's the algorithm thing, that even though I have, 1,000+ newsletter subscribers, I'm not seeing the open and the interaction like I do on Substack.
I would agree with that. One of the things that we're pretty heavily into right now when it comes to our teaching with LinkedIn is the 10-to-1 rule, and that is for every one item that you post there, you leave comments, and good quality comments too. Comments that are valuable, that are genuine, that add to the conversation. None of this great post crap, and that's it. Um, it's just
tell
to
us how
really
you
start
really feel,
conversations.
Bob.
Yeah, I know. To really start conversations there, I'm starting to go through a little bit of a mind shift here, to where LinkedIn is going to be more about conversations, and Substack is going to be more about publishing. And then, obviously conversations are going to are going to rise out of that. But because Substack has some other great features, and that goes back to Jim's one-to-one point, because when people subscribe to you, you get their email addresses. LinkedIn doesn't do that. You can really foster good communications more quickly from Substack than you can from LinkedIn. I see I see value, real tremendous value from both there. We just need to really define the lanes a little further of what each of these platforms are going to do, and then drive in those specific lanes, whether it's a HOV lane for Substack, or a regular lane for LinkedIn, or whatever metaphor you want to put in there, basically.
That's awesome. And so do we think blogging is dead?
No.
No.
Okay,
No.
so I don't think so either. But no, I like the differentiation. The LinkedIn, I have conversations. I don't think LinkedIn will ever go away, because at least for me, that's like my favorite Rolodex. You
Yeah, it's
meet
not going to go away.
people, you find them. It is the absolute best way to stay in touch and stay connected.
Yep.
And the more content, even with LinkedIn, even if you're just doing a little content, you're doing more than most people. So you're going to get noticed. So I like,
Yes.
right?
And I guess that'd be a question I have for both of you. I sometimes see, or it seems that maybe it's a fear of people. There are, hundreds of millions, maybe it's over 1 billion now on LinkedIn. But
It's over 1
yet,
billion.
I think it's probably, and I've heard this before, less than 5% create.
Yeah.
Where if we look at Substack, if you're on Substack, you have a publication, you're creating.
You are creating.
So I think the quote unquote creator ratio is much higher, much more engagement. And so I think where LinkedIn's problem is that they sometimes don't know what they want to be, because right now they're wanting you to focus on short videos, which sounds like TikTok, which sounds like Instagram. And that's not what I thought of as LinkedIn. And of course, there are some people that still think that, believe it or not, LinkedIn is like an online job resume.
Yep.
There are plenty of people who still feel like it's a resume.
Mhm.
And now I've been on LinkedIn over 20 years. I remember and I remember who I was dating. So I know the year. It was 2003. And in this book, it said, drop everything and join LinkedIn. So I did.
So you joined in 03 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Do you remember
it took us 21 years to meet or something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because that's when I joined, and I actually remember my old member number, because that was way back when the only ID that you had was your member number in the exact order that you joined LinkedIn. I was number 74,599th. I was the 74,599th person on LinkedIn.
I wish I thought to look.
They did a promo several years ago where you could type your name or whatever in, and they would look that up. That's not available anymore. But once upon a time, that used to be in your LinkedIn URL for your profile.
Right. And
Long
then,
time.
and now if you still have a number in your LinkedIn, then
Yeah.
you need to go to profile settings and make it custom. But that is a different conversation. What I was
Your
going to
LinkedIn
say
person
about
number. Yes.
what I was going to say about LinkedIn, and this is Jim, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
LinkedIn has always had an identity crisis. Facebook does groups, LinkedIn does groups. Facebook does live video, LinkedIn does live video. Any other things really yell at you to call attention to, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, where I think LinkedIn is getting things wrong is trying to be like social media. And I think that it's social media, quote unquote, in general. And that's, thinking that people are going to be on LinkedIn and, for lack of a better phrase, doom scrolling. You can do that on Facebook. You can do that on Instagram. You can do that on X and spend some time on there. When people go on LinkedIn, they are there mainly for business, to get business stuff done. people are not going to be scrolling on LinkedIn for hours and hours and hours. And yet I think that LinkedIn now thinks of itself as like an Instagram or as a Facebook, and they're really getting away from their core mission, which I always thought was about networking and building relationships and things like that. It was, the content was good. The content was great. It still is good. It still is great. There are plenty of people out there doing great content. But the thing is, people aren't on there necessarily for the content like they are on Instagram. You go on Instagram, you're there for the content. I think that LinkedIn maybe wants to be like that, but with people, working all the time, especially during the day, it's just not happening like that. And with some of the things that are happening with the algorithm, which Richard Vanderbloom talks about all the time. And one of the things is, for a post to be successful, it has to get some interactions like within minutes within it's published. Otherwise, it'll tank. I don't know of a lot of people who are scrolling constantly to the point where they're going to be commenting on things all the time. I mean, there's so much other stuff going on with LinkedIn. I just think that that's like a huge miss when it comes to the algorithm. Something you don't need to worry about on Substack. And Substack's algorithm surfaces the people who I follow, the people who I subscribe to much better than than on LinkedIn. Jim, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you 100% on that. I think that's a big part of the problem with LinkedIn. And I think that's why, I mean, there are some people I've seen, and, if you want to say followed, subscribed on Substack, that were really heavy on LinkedIn. And they've left LinkedIn. Well, they're still on LinkedIn, but their focus is Substack.
Yep.
Like I go over there once in a while, kind of probably doing exactly what Bob recommends. They're doing some engagement, but they're like, I'm tired of trying to fight this algorithm and hope that I'm going to get something.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of the big things that really I found intriguing, but also the value for me with Substack is the fact that I'm getting the emails and that I realize I need to nurture that and use that, to help my business grow, where, yeah, sure, I can go in and I can, DM all these people on LinkedIn, but sometimes that feels a little spammy as well. Like you might create, like you did, right? You created this event on LinkedIn, this show, and we can invite people, but if they didn't go to their little notifications tab to see that this event is coming up, right? They're not going to watch it, or they're going to say, I get so, right. Cause now when we connect with someone, not only do we do the connection thing, but then it's like subscribe to their newsletter and they got this event coming up. And I think that's almost become like junk mail. It's like, I don't got time to go through all these different things. And then you get so many newsletters and it's all coming from LinkedIn. And you're like, am I going to read this one? But I think where with Substack, now when Bob creates a post on his publication, I'm getting an email from Bob saying, Bob just wrote this post about this. And I can actually read most of it, but I also know it's coming from Bob, not from LinkedIn. So I think, to me, there's a lot of value in that.
The thing that bugs me the most about the LinkedIn newsletters is I will send a connection request and they give me the subscribe right now. Wait and see if this person is going to connect with me, because if they don't, what am I going to, if they don't like me, I'm not going to add to their numbers. I mean, I get it. It's efficient. It's whatever their automation is, but it just bugs me because I'll send a request and every single time I fall for it, then I get a notification. I'm like, oh, that was fast that they accepted, and it's no, subscribe. Come on, people, at least pretend to think about it, right? Anyway, what do you find to be the biggest value of Substack, Bob?
Right now, I'm still really getting into things, but I think that everything that that Jim said about the more of the one-to-one thing going on. I have exactly one paid subscription right now on Substack. It's to a gentleman named Michael Easter. It's actually all fitness related and lifestyle related type stuff. It's not even business, but I see how he uses it. He does a lot of videos. He does audio. He hosts weekly chats. I mean, there's so much that he is doing, and he's obviously very committed to Substack. But I see right now, I'm seeing the potential value between everything that he's doing and then what Jim talks about. There is tremendous potential value that I'm looking to tap into right now. What I'm concentrating a little more on is really getting a good book of content into Substack right now. So next week I'm publishing my last part. I actually did 5 parts on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I think kicks butt. And they're coming out with more and more AI related features, but not like some content stuff, but more of the analytics and things like that. And just it's just, if things keep going with Sales Navigator the way that they are right now, it's going to be pretty mind blowing, and it ain't cheap, but it's worth it. And so I'm really trying to wet that whistle for sales leadership. And I'm probably going to end up republishing some of that stuff on LinkedIn too. I mean, you can do Substack and then you can do LinkedIn. I would suggest Substack first and then LinkedIn, but you can publish LinkedIn articles from your Substack post, rewrite them and stuff like that, probably make them a little bit shorter and things like that too. Or you can do what Jim did, which is a newsletter, which I think is brilliant to include, a newsletter from some of your LinkedIn stuff and a lot of your Substack stuff too. I think that's a great strategy as well.
We almost sidetracked and then we reined in. So I want to go back
Yeah.
to this question about where does blogging fit in with all of this? Because at least for me, let's just take this show, for instance. So
Yeah.
we're live the next day. It's a blog post. It is my days of the week are going to be goofy because usually I publish Monday. So Tuesday, the blog post comes up. And then I send the links to the replays on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then Thursday, typically, I upload because Facebook deletes the live videos now. And then I embed the YouTube in a LinkedIn post. And then also on Thursday, it gets released through the Marketing Podcast Network. So one wonderful conversation gets to go a bunch of different places. And I'm mostly focused on my book proposals.substack.com, but I still also have one for Goal Setting Simplified. And so when I do a LinkedIn newsletter, I also release it via Substack. And then that goes up on my blog as well. So how do they play together nicely? And does the algorithm get mad at you if you publish the same thing in too many places like it used to do?
From what I know, that is not the case. But how I use blogging with Substack is like what I'm actually going to do. I mean, even though I'm streaming this to my YouTube channel, I'm going to download the video. I'm going to upload it to Substack. And then I'm going to write an article about this conversation we've had. And I'm going to make sure that the two of you are co-authors so that it'll get out to all of our audiences. My audience will get an email. I don't know if yours does or not. That'll be a good question. Because it might if you give it permission when I post it to go to your audience. I'm not 100% sure, but that'll be a good experiment for the three of us.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is that, and it's like I think I mentioned to you guys the other night, is that when we think about podcasts, when we think about videos on YouTube, even as an example, do people read the details underneath? From what I've seen in my in-person speaking experiences, when I ask that question, the answer is predominantly no, they don't. So as much as we spend all this time on show notes on our podcast and descriptions on YouTube, nobody cares. But when I come to Substack, but think about this. When I come to Substack, I'm coming based on the way the platform was set up. most likely with a read first mentality. Video is not my priority in coming there. And it might be that, you know what, I'd love to watch this video with Bob, Jim, and Deborah, but I don't have time right now. So let me get the wrap up overview from the writing. So they can read through it in a few minutes and they get the gist of it. And they say, you know, that's great. I need to follow these folks and learn more. Or I'm going to go back and watch that video later. That's where I think why, with or without a video, the blogging is a critical piece of Substack. And I've written articles that I'm just writing an article. I don't always have to have a video with what I'm doing. So I think, so for me, yes, it, and that's why mine's called writing and video journey and not just video.
Okay. And I'm going to let you jump in a second. So you don't think blogging is dead, but the place that you're blogging is Substack, not on your website.
Well, I'm actually getting very close to Substack will be my website.
Okay.
Because I think even when I look in reality and go, say, if you want to go look at Google Analytics, do I really get a lot of people visiting my website? No. But because people are actively engaged in Substack on a daily basis, there's a likelihood if I use things like notes, like Bob's talking about, well, let me go check out this publication. And now I have tabs on my Substack that can, like, I have my YouTube channel. I have other things. I could, in theory, even put my, you know, we'll call it my classic website, but I don't know that that's necessary anymore. And I think some of that I'm going to say is because of answer engine optimization and the change with AI as opposed to search engine optimization. So that's why I'm actually leaning to, I mean, I could buy a domain name or take my domain and make my website Substack.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say because my publication is called More Than Quota. I bought morethanquota.com and one day when I have enough time to sit down and figure out, and I'm sure I'm making it to be much more of a bigger deal than it is. I'm going to have morethanquota.com be my Substack at that point, rather than I'm bobwoods.substack.com or whatever it is right now. You can do that as a company too, or you know, a small company or an individual like Jim.
Yeah, I'm still playing between. So the difference is for Book Proposal Podcast, those I put up, they get released on Tuesdays and they get Substacked out, or whatever we're calling it, released by Substack on Tuesday, and then Wednesdays they go up on the blog. So I do the opposite.
But you could also very easily just have a tab on your Substack that is your website.
Yeah.
And I know several people that do that. And I think so then the other beauty of that is it's that whole thing of, and I think LinkedIn is fairly good about this as well. When I click that tab, it doesn't close Substack. It opens it as a new window. So I can still go back to where I was on Substack, because sometimes that's the fear, is like, oh, when they click this, it's going to close it and then they're off to somebody else's stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about this tab thing. So it's just like a menu tab, right? You click it and send people elsewhere.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know.
Who does that? Can you tell me a name just real quick?
Tanya Smith, Stream Like a Boss. She does that.
Okay, good to know.
It is okay. Stream Like a Boss.
We do it with our Dealcasters as well.
Okay, I will have to look and play, because with my book proposal specialty, I'm launching a new site, thebookproposalexpert.com, which is, I still have the Deb method as Goal Deb, but I decided that Book Deb needed its own home. And in like that, I've got my Goal Chat, which is tied into Deb Method Substack, and then the book proposals tied into thebookproposalexpert.com. I mean, we could, in theory, spend all day, every day creating content and being social.
Right.
But that's, creating the content is just part of it. It's the interaction, if you
Yep.
create content in a vacuum, who cares, right?
Yeah,
I
either
wanted,
that or you're just a broadcaster. I mean, you're like, you're like TV news, which is what I used to do. You just toss stuff out there and you never hear from anybody. You don't really know what the impact is. That's why Substack is good. That's why LinkedIn is great as well, because you get to have conversations with people after the stuff comes out. That's gold, especially for someone like me who came from that background.
well, I came from that background adjacent, so I totally get
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
And with LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, with Facebook, I know we're not going to dive into is anybody actually on Facebook anymore, but in its Facebook heyday, do you love how anything we're talking about today is really nothing we talked about 2 days ago in our
Yeah, you're
offline
right. That's funny.
conversation,
That is funny.
which is kind of amazing. But just the nod to Facebook, back when people were actually on Facebook, the difference between a page and a group was the page was broadcasting, the group
Yep.
was interacting.
Yep.
And I still, with LinkedIn, and I haven't done LinkedIn in a while, so I'll have you back for a specific LinkedIn conversation soon, Bob. But I've been experimenting with, what are different ways to be more interactive on LinkedIn, because a lot of that engagement has gone down. And unless you're poking people and saying, I just posted something, comment, please, please, please. A lot of the times it's just like posting to the wind.
Yeah,
Broadcasting.
10-to-1 ratio helps. So, I mean, one of the things about the 10-to-1 rule is the more you comment, the more LinkedIn sees you as being a credible person, so that your stuff will start to surface on other people's on within other people's feeds, especially if you're commenting. And I forget if it's before or after, but if you do the comments, like I said, before or after, and then you post something, your your views should go up, according to according to what we know and what Richard Vanderbloom has said about the algorithm. So you do get algorithm juice out of commenting on LinkedIn as well, especially if they're really good quality comments and you're furthering the conversation.
Again, more than 5 words.
Yes, more than 5 words.
More than I
outrage
love
post.
this content, or
Right.
what
Yeah,
a great
exactly.
article. No
Yeah.
one wants that.
No
I
one.
love
Yeah.
this article because you talked about this, or I totally agree with you, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And
Or
they
answer
don't
the
know,
question.
right.
And see, and that's where notes, and I think Bob's strategy of what he does, with the LinkedIn engagement, I think it's identical, right?
Yeah.
Comment, but then where it's Twitter, like Deborah, or we'll say OG Twitter, is the
Yes, please.
restack with comments.
Yes.
And I think for me, that's been, I think it's been good for me, because I think it's gotten people have got, I guess I've gotten people's attention because I share stuff commenting about it, but it's like there's nothing in it for me. I'm just genuinely sharing other people's good content and why you should look at it. And they are appreciative of that. So then when I put something out there, they share it.
Mhm.
Is anybody doing Substack chats, like the OG Twitter chats? I miss Twitter chats.
Well, they have a chat feature
Yeah.
that you could, as an example, when this is done, you could start a chat on your Substack, Deb, that says, "What did you think of our show today?" And all your subscribers could then make comments, and that thread will live. Actually, I think it's forever. It's not like that
Forever.
chat goes away.
I think, yeah. Yeah, I
But
mean,
it's
I've got quite a few here that I'm looking through right now, and they go back
but
to 2023.
but I think what you could potentially do, and this is where this would take, like, I guess you could say, a coordinated effort. If you told everybody, I'm going to have a chat at 4:00, where you put that chat with whatever the topic is,
Mhm.
once you start commenting, people would see the comments. So that would kind of be like Twitter, but I
Yeah.
don't think it would be, it'd be a little bit of a mess, because it would be like going back and forth. And like if you replied to Bob, then I have to go back up. I was like, oh, that's the Bob and Deborah thread, and then here's the thread between Jim and, so it's not really set up the way we think of, like, with Twitter chats, because they don't use hashtags either.
Right.
Um,
So the answer is no.
Yes.
There's not an equivalent to Twitter chats on Substack, which is fine because I do find plenty of ways to utilize my time. I mean, I loved hosting Goal Chat for 5 years. Goal Chat Live came out of Goal Chat. It started out as continuing the conversation from the topic the day before. And even though I sunsetted it in 2023 when OG Twitter, I will not call it the other one, got really toxic, I know people still use it. But anyway, I'm curious about, because I've heard different reasonings about why you should and should not broadcast on Substack, as opposed to broadcasting on or releasing via the podcast platforms. Thoughts?
I don't know
Jim
why.
looks like
Yeah.
I was looking at him, but you can't tell.
Yeah, I don't really know why you would feel that you shouldn't. And the reason I say that,
someone saying
I mean, I think what you have a little bit of, if you want to call it within we'll call it the Substack community, is it's kind of like, we'll say you, Deborah, and not to say that this is you, like, well, I'm just a writer. I don't like all this video stuff on my lawn.
Yeah, I've never.
And then
seen
you
that.
get these video people. I don't like all this writing on my lawn. So from that perspective, it's more of an opinion as opposed to a fact. I think when you see what's happened with these journalists that have come over from the mainstream side, and when you go and watch that their video has hundreds or thousands of people watching live, you're like, this is working. I mean, even a unplanned pop-up, I think it was about a 10-minute live stream I did yesterday on my phone when I interviewed this guy Pete Kane when we were at this We Care fair. I had 9 people watching live, and I just in the middle of the day just like, hey, I said let's try this. We'll go ahead. I've got my hotspot, and I had 9 people live. I can have a scheduled live stream on YouTube, LinkedIn, all that, and if we have 9 people show up live, I would like do backflips.
Oh, I want to watch that.
I don't know if I could do that now. I have to work on that, but that's what I see. I mean, and then it's also the whole thing of, if you have subscriber, buckets, we'll call it. You could say, I have a podcast that only my paid subscribers get to listen to. Mm-hmm. So you can provide that premium content very easily. I mean, Bob, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's the different levels that make things interesting. I mean, because you can have and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim. I'm going from memory here, but for like free subscribers, you could provide just content. For the paid subscribers, you can provide content plus chat, and I'm being very broad here, I know that. And then for that founder membership, maybe you do the podcast as well or something like that. So you keep building features the deeper in that they go in terms of their membership level. And it's not and if you're like me, you're not really looking to make a ton of money off of this, besides I always joke about supporting my pickleball habit with anything that I make off of Substack. You don't have to charge exorbitant amounts of money. I mean, you can do like $0 to $10, $20, or something like that, just so that people can join more easily. You should probably price it at a decent amount so that you don't want to price things, I don't think, too cheap, because that means that you don't put enough value in your content, but obviously don't go the other way either. And just and you had asked about broadcasting before. I think that that's one of the ways that Substack is different from like just general broadcasting. If anything, you can think about the free level as like a broadcast, for lack of a better term. But once you get into more of the paid tiers, that's where more of the interaction can like really come in, especially with like chats and things like that.
Okay, you gave me an idea.
What's your idea?
Like, I don't have enough of them, right? So,
yeah, I know.
So in theory, because I keep thinking I'm going to add, so right now, Book Proposal Podcast is me answering frequently asked questions. They're 3 to 5 minutes. I'm off camera. Which, I am the writer who loves to be on camera, but I figured I wanted to do something different than my other 2 shows. So I started that way. But I could actually do a second day Book Proposal Podcast. So the subscribers get to watch it live and chime in. And then I can release that as a second day of the podcast through the podcast channels.
Yes.
So it's a way to create premium content that everybody else can still access later. That's a problem I have with premium content, because I figure I'm talking, I want everybody to hear it, but that's kind of a way to skirt both of the
Well, and
ideas.
that's just the fact that even within Substack, if you don't want to, get fancy and I guess potentially expensive using other tools, you can make clips of your content, make them notes, and then let people know if you want to see the whole thing. Here's the link.
How much time do you think I have?
They create the 3 clips automatically.
Oh, Substack will?
Yeah, Substack creates the clips. Yeah.
The one I posted today, I didn't create. Substack did that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't have to do anything other than say, oh, this is actually pretty good. Because I think that's sometimes the problem with AI is they're like, is it really creating a good clip, or did it grab something randomly that I don't like?
Yeah, it's not. Generally, it's not. We've tried some tools before, and yeah. No.
I'm having a fight with AI right now because I asked them to do a graphic for me, and then I used all of my. You can't ask me again for 24 hours. I'm sorry. I know it's not that expensive to get premium.
You need to use Genesis.
Well, I will try this, but I have a problem. I'm still getting on board with the AI. It's fine as a tool, but as a writer, I still have issues paying for it. Anyway, they said wait 24 hours and ask again. And when I did, they said, no, you have to wait another 20 hours. So I've had it with them. I'm like, forget it. I'll ask another digital friend.
Yep.
Anyway, I do not know how to rein back from that. Can we do some quick hit Substack tips? Starting with what are your top tips for starting, and then your top tips for next leveling? Bob, what tips you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. You just got to start. You just have to get out and just start. Even if you're not going to start a publication right away, do some notes. Just one a day is all you need. And then also, as you're doing those notes, start following other people, start commenting on other people's notes, just so that you can get a little bit of that ball rolling, maybe get a little interaction going, getting some eyes on what it is that you're doing, even if it's just notes. You don't have to go out there with an entire content calendar and campaign in mind, or whatever. Don't overthink it. Just sit down at your keyboard and just get started with whatever subject that you imagine yourself going to be focusing on at some point with a publication. You don't need to start with a publication though. That's mine, at least.
Okay. But the important other factor you said is you're owning your niche, which is something I talk about a lot. You're in business. You're a thought leader. You're a whatever. You are an expert in something.
Mm-hmm.
Lean into that in the notes you share and the content you create, and you could start by creating small. Okay, love it. Jim, the starter tips.
Well, we'll go kind of the next level.
Okay.
You're now Bob, and you've started that publication.
You're Bob.
Here's the things that you should do. 1, personalize your welcome email for both paid and free subscribers. That's something I've just recently did. I wish I had done it way before. The next thing that you want to make sure that you do is, recommend other Substacks, and they will recommend you. I have one publication in particular that I've received over 100 subscribers because they recommended me. So, and it doesn't even, you don't even have to write anything. You just say, I recommend this Substack. Now you can also put in there, this is why I recommend it. And so that too, because then they say, hey, you know, Jim recommended me. I'm going to, you know, sometimes it's, you know, if you want to call it quid pro quo, I guess if that's the right term, but it's a nice thing to do. Like, hey, if this is the Substack you think is worthwhile, do that. And then what happens also sometimes is if you do a paid subscription, you will get to give away 5 1 month subscriptions to, I guess, 5 of your email contacts. So maybe say, you know what, this is something that Bob or Deborah would find. I'm going to put their email in there, and then you're going to get a free month of paid stuff. And I think the other thing, this goes back to what Bob was saying as well, is follow these people that are doing well in your niche. And it's not that you're going to copy them, but you're going to learn from them. You know, Vivica's been sharing this one lady's Substack tips, even on like how to design your website. And I'm like, I didn't know that. Right. So now I'm following this person as well. I'm looking at how do I implement that into my publication? You know, how do you then potentially, if you're going to start one down the road, right? Okay, do I want to change how it looks? Right? Like, don't be like right now, I think mine is newspaper style, but I may change it because I think, to Bob's point, once you get to a certain amount of content, you may want to change the format of it because it will show up better. Because you can start to then on the top, right, or above the fold is all your top content that's getting interaction and reaction, and then the stuff that maybe isn't doing as well is below that. So, and then I would also, I've got to throw this tip in: don't be afraid to go live.
Okay.
Yeah. Live is the final ultimate frontier, I think. And yes, space and going live on Substack, the Substack, the final frontiers. So yeah, I mean, you got to do it. As you become more comfortable with video, which, I mean, people should be doing videos. And one of the things that we talk about a lot on LinkedIn is doing video messaging, because you can do video messaging on LinkedIn. And just as like a side tip, and I'll get right back, if you're going to be on LinkedIn and you really want your messages noticed, use video, because no one still to this day is using video. You will stand out by using video in your messages. Back to Substack with some, yeah, exactly. So with with Substack going live, you're still going to get noticed. Actually, the advice there is probably really similar. There's probably, and Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably still not a lot of people going live on Substack, right, Jim?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the fear of technology, not understanding how it works. You know, people that have maybe gone live on other platforms, like, well, I don't understand. I mean, that's what I ran into with Facebook groups, is I had people like, how do I go live in my Facebook group now that I have to use this code thing, right? And it's like, it's not that hard, but if you're not a tech person, you think it's hard.
Right.
And so, but I think the other biggest thing to remember about going live on Substack versus other platforms is once the live is done, it goes to drafts. That means if you don't like it, you don't ever have to show it to the world again. So even if it's just a live video that has nothing really to do with your brand, in a sense, like just say Bob decides he's going to go live and he wants to show us his bourbon collection, right? No pressure, Bob.
Yeah. Thanks.
It
Appreciate
it 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 allows us to get to know Bob better in a live setting. It builds know, like, and trust. And then he may get some people comment like, wow, I didn't know Bob liked bourbon. I'm going to follow Bob just because of that and get to know him better. And then
Yeah.
Bob doesn't have to write an article. Bob doesn't have to ever do anything with that video. And it's done. But he went live. He got interaction from people potentially because it popped up and people started to see him. So I think that's where the live can definitely help grow your awareness. I think it's a great awareness building tool.
So much homework.
I know. Now I got to show my freaking bourbon collection now. Jeez.
Now you should see my brain. Let's see. Do I want to be camera ready a second day a week, or just do live on Substack earlier in the day on Monday and then release that episode later in the week? I don't know. I know this should be my biggest problem.
Do you remember Periscope?
I do remember Periscope.
So that's where the phone version of Substack, it's like being on Periscope.
Yeah.
Because you can flip the camera and show people, hey, here, I'm out here on a walk. Look at what I'm looking at. What do you think? Right? I mean, just have a conversation. So then you wouldn't have to be as camera ready, right?
Okay, but you have to remember this. Clearly, you are the one person on earth who has not heard this story, so I will share it. When I started my live show, when I started Gold Chat Live, originally it was a live show to talk about what happened the day before on Gold Chat. The first 2 episodes was me talking. I think the first one was 12 minutes, and the second was 10 or like 15 and 12 or what. It did not go well. And then I started an interview show the following week. So me talking to myself, if I'm presenting, great. But off the cuff, I like to have people to interact with.
But you will see, that's the whole thing. Like even yesterday in the app, it's kind of like the old Facebook Live. You see comments, you see who's joining.
Mm-hmm.
So like yesterday, because I knew we were using these wireless mics in a very loud space that had, but we had noise reduction. And I was asking the audience, like, hey, can you hear us okay? And I had Chris Stone happen to jump on. He said, hey, can you turn Pete's mic up a little bit, which I did. And he said, now we can hear him fine. Right. So we had that interaction just from him making comments. And then when I could see that, some people I know joined, I could say, hey, Betty, great, glad you're here. And so you can have that sort of conversation without having to have them join, because it does show you that. Now that's within the phone app. Now you do see when you live stream third party who's joining, you'll see the comments on Substack. You just can't share it to screen. So, and then I guess if you want to say pro or con, that even with the phone videos, even though they go to your drafts, you don't see all the pop-ups that happen during the thing. It's just a clean video of what happened.
Gotcha. I was wondering about that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you've given me and Bob a ton of homework, let's give our audience some. So what goal?
Actually, we need to give Jim homework first.
Yeah, I was going to say,
let's give Jim some homework. Okay.
I have no idea.
Oh, I'm going to give you homework. Your homework is to invite me and Bob onto a live stream that you're doing on Substack, so we get
on the
that
phone
experience. Yeah,
we could do it on the phone.
Wait,
how would that even work? We need to be there. Flights.
No, because what happens is when I go live on the phone, I pick you and I pick her, and then it pulls you, and you guys it's like you get an invite, and then all 3 of us would be on screen. That's what you see sometimes, like I was showing you the other day, where I could tell they were using the phone.
Oh, so there goes my flight to Atlanta. Oh, well, that's okay.
But we could do that too.
Yeah. It's a real quick flight. It's like less than an hour. So.
Oh, you guys are gonna have playtime without me? Okay.
Yeah.
No, we'll invite you in.
Oh, you'll Zoom me in. You'll be in person and your stuff. Okay, now that could be bonus homework. What other homework should we give Jim, Bob?
Well, I mean, I was going to say when it comes to videos and things like that, I mean, Jim's already got some really good videos out there on how to do videos on Substack that I think that he should talk about. So that's his homework to do right now, is to tell us really quick about those videos.
Yeah. So, but also, Bob, is there a video you would like me to do that I haven't done yet?
I honestly don't know enough about video on Substack to really know what that is about. I mean, to have like additional questions, I would need to fumble through, and I shouldn't say fumble through. I've figured out pretty quick, but I can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
That's a horrible thing for a guest to say on a podcast, but I can't think of anything.
So So from that perspective, though, my YouTube channel, Fusion Marketing, I have uploaded the videos. I have 3 that talk specifically about how to go live using the phone, how to go live using third-party streaming tools like Restream, and then I've got one on how you can repurpose those videos inside a Substack. And then there's also an article on my publication for each one of those videos as well. So that's the quickest way. And I did do a quick experiment because someone asked me in a note, can you do this with audio? And right now the answer is no. You can download the audio, you can upload it and make it an article, but it will not let you clip it. So you would have to go take that audio, put it into another tool, and just say, okay, take this section and do it that way.
Yeah,
so that may be the future piece that people might want to create. Because I could see, like to your point, Bob, is like maybe you start writing an article and then you embed little video, and I've seen people do that, like they're embedding video clips as they go along.
I've seen that too. Yeah, definitely. Quick question. Can you do audio lives only? Audio only lives is how I should have put it.
Yes. And that's in the phone one. So when you go live on your phone, you can turn your camera off.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of like the whole avatar thing. In fact, it's interesting you say that because I don't know if you guys follow Keith Keller on LinkedIn, but he's in Australia, and because he has limited bandwidth, he
his bandwidth he has bandwidth.
He has bandwidth with his camera. He always goes live with audio, and he's been doing it in Restream, and so he'll go live sometimes for 4 or 5 hours and have people join, but everybody is just their avatar and they're talking. But I had a thought, because this is where my mad scientist of technology brain starts to think, is how many people could you add to a Substack phone live if they were all avatars before it would crash? Because you have a limit how many people you can bring in here.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know if Substack, like if it says the room is full, because I've never, because I think right now, everyone's video, but that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with school, where I can turn people's stuff on and off.
They didn't hear the school conversation.
I know, but
that was the Monday conversation, and that's SKOOL.
Yes. Yes, school with a K for all the kids. But don't spell it that way at school. You won't get a good grade. But I think you can do the audio only. So even if you decided to go live with audio, right? And that actually might be an interesting experiment, to go live with audio and see if that creates clips. So maybe I'll try that later. I'll tell people like, hey, this is the guinea pig report, and I'm just trying to see what happens. Going live audio only with my avatar, will Substack create clips?
And that's another potential publication for you. The guinea
pig.
I
was going to say that. Your homework is to create a series called the Guinea Pig Report.
Yep.
I am not kidding. Don't you? I love that Bob and I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, me and Chris Stone are about to do some guinea pig stuff over the next couple of days, because here's always a challenge for people, and if you have to stop me, that's fine, Deb, because I know you guys might have other things that I'm holding you from. But think about this. So Bob decides that he wants to bring a guest in to his live stream where he is physically sitting right now. You're the producer. How do you make sure both those cameras work and that audio work? So Chris has clients that he just built a studio for, where both of them are in the studio. You can see both of them. It's like, well, we want to bring another person in and have a camera on them. You can do so much, but what you start to run into is the potential of echo feedback and other things.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out, well, what's an easy way to get multiple cameras? Because if I, the producer, I'm not physically there, I'm relying on someone that maybe is not as tech savvy to do it. So that's part of
Yep.
what we're trying to figure out as well. Because like the other day, I don't know if you saw, I did a video. I don't think I think I made it a note. I did not make it a post. I actually had 4 wireless microphones on my laptop using Shure's Motive Mix software.
Yeah, I've got that for this.
2 were Rode and 2 were Shure Move mics, because it'll actually, and so this is the other thing that the head of marketing from Shure, Laura Davison, kind of put in my mind. She's like, you can actually have up to 5 inputs. So I'm like, oh. So
On
let me
Motive Mix?
see.
Really?
Yes. So now I'm going to see how many more microphones I can add and, I guess stage them in different parts of my house and see if they all work, because it's just software. It's, you don't, because then if you go travel, and that's where, using things like NDI cameras, which then don't have that audio problem, but that's where someone that's not familiar, like, well, what's NDI? Which basically it's streaming the camera signal to your computer without a wire, is what it does.
Yep.
So, Chris heard his name. Were your ears burning, Chris? Thank you for tuning in live.
So Chris, we got a guinea pig report to do based on some of the stuff we're doing.
Well,
Guinea
I'll
pig.
have you know, the guineapigreport.com is available. So
you should have said that.
you need to grab it. And don't think I won't ask you tomorrow if you've done it.
Are you going to buy it for me?
Do you want to press it? I could buy it, but then I would own it and I'd have to transfer it to you. So.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, transferring is not fun. I've done that.
Yeah,
before.
no, it is not fun
or
at all.
Or should it be the guineapigreport.ai, right?
Oh.
Anyway,
IL
up to you. But I love this mad scientistness about you, and I think that is perfectly branded.
Well, part of it is I think I try to encourage, because I at least think that we're all over the age of 40. And I think the problem is people that are in that generation are afraid of technology. And it's like, look, you don't have to be. If we can do it, you can do it too.
Exactly.
And so I've even thought about like focusing some of my content on the, like, if you're 45 and up, look, here's how you can do this too. Because I started live streaming. If we look at I started live streaming at 52. I was not a video guy ever. Like when I was in the Marines, I wasn't a guy carrying around a camera or a video camera. And sometimes, like, man, if I'd had a camera, I would have had more pictures to remember all these different things. But I didn't. And even now, sometimes, like, right, you go to an in-person event. Oh, I forgot to take it's not really a selfie, right? It's a groupie, I guess, when there's more than one person.
Yeah.
But it's those things that we don't think about because we're in the moment and we're having a conversation. We don't think, oh, we got to get a picture of this. It's like, because then it's like, I got all these photos on my phone. What am I supposed to do with them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Chris says, I thought Jim started live streaming when the webcam was invented.
No, you got to do the reps, as Chris likes to say. You got to do the reps.
Yeah. And
you'll get better at it.
You just gotta, because your first one more than likely it's gonna suck, and that's okay. Yep. You'll get better. You'll get better.
And then if you do enough of them, it'll bury the ones that you did so far down that people have to actually speak them out.
Well, even when you look at Sean Cannell shares his very first YouTube video, it was horrible, and he's one of these big time YouTubers. I know the very first Tim and Jim show, I think we posted it on like our Tim and Jim show Facebook page. And it's like, when you look at it, a few years later, like, oh my God, that was horrible.
So it's like for your 100th video, you could say, hey, here's what my first video looked like.
Yep.
You could do like look backs, and it's like, look at how much.
I mean, we used to, I used to have the big headphones. I used to sit in a chair. Now I go with the in-ear monitors, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's like at some point, it's like, it's kind of like the radio disc jockey look. And I mean, and even now I've gotten to the point where I have this boom arm, my microphone's right here. So it's
Yeah.
not in the shot, but it used to be in the shot all the time, right? In fact, here's my old microphone, right? So it'd be like this.
hmm
But now I've been able to get it to where it's out of the shot, it sounds good, and I'm comfortable with it. So so we can all get there. It's just a matter of practicing and not being afraid to learn. I think that's where I feel like people like and to me that's what keeps us alive, is to continuously learn and keep moving forward.
Yep.
That is applicable to things other than video and Substack. It is a
Yeah.
life thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
And Jim, I had no delusion that we would only run an hour on this conversation. But I would love for you both to gift goals. I mean, you're giving such wonderful, rich content, wonderful information, but let's not overwhelm everybody as we are, or at least Bob and I are, with all of our homework. So, Jim, what goal do you want to gift? What is something someone could do today, tomorrow, immediately to become better friends with Substack?
I would say create an account and start following people.
Okay, and then what? That feels easy.
Start doing notes and start engaging.
Yeah.
Well, now you're just stealing what Bob said
But
for his tip.
that's how you have to start.
I feel violated, but he's right at the same time.
Okay, Bob, what goal are you gifting? You can steal what he said.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So let me go back. No, I mean, seriously, it's it's about it's about engagement. I mean, just like LinkedIn, you are developing relationships on Substack. So if you go into it with that mentality in terms of your activity on there, and then you combine that with providing good content, whether it's through notes or, at some point, if you start a publication, just make sure that you're providing really good, valuable content, that you're not shilling your own stuff on there necessarily, and really providing good takeaways, like we've been doing here. That is what really, that's what's going to make you stand out, because you're going to be seen as someone who is valuable. You're going to be seen as someone who is an expert, because you are walking the walk and talking the talk at the same time.
And that's so I'm gonna make you yes and your answers, because Jim says basically start, Bob says create good content. Excellent. What is one thing anyone can do to stand out on Substack other than show up? Because that feels like a no-brainer.
It's really not, though.
What,
It's
show
really
up?
not necessarily. No, it's really not necessarily a no-brainer. So I'm gonna yes and you by saying no, I think.
Right.
Just a little bit. I mean, because a lot of people will definitely start, but then they'll stop because they're not getting that instant dopamine hit. I think is probably the biggest thing. So maybe this is how we frame that. So I'm going to take that no away and just say continue. Don't give up. I think that's the way to frame it.
Okay, so show up and keep showing up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think to Bob's point, right, taking it that step further, it's kind of like when you knock on that door, you knocked on 9 doors and got no's, and you gave up. But if you'd knocked one more time, you would have got the yes. From what I've seen with some of these Substackers, they're like, I was on here for 6 months and nothing was happening, but I stuck with it, and then it happened. So it's not going to be overnight. I mean, even my Substack, I think I actually started it I think a year plus ago, because a guy that was on the Tim and Jim show. So yeah, it had to be longer than that because of when we stopped the show. He's like, oh, I write every day on this thing called Substack. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I started to write, and then we'll call it life got in the way or whatever. But then when the video piece popped up, that, got my attention. And now my, subscriber growth is, just been going this way. And it's because I didn't quit, right? I kept going, and it took more than a year. But now that I'm getting more comfortable with it, it's like it becomes that, instead of hanging out on Facebook, I'm hanging out on Substack, and I'm engaged. And I love the fact that, to Bob's point, I can look at the notes feed of people I'm following, and I see something that they put out there that I like. I'll like it. I'll comment. I'll restack it, or they may restack something, and I learn about somebody new. But I think, to your question earlier, the other thing, Deb, is we don't always necessarily know what it is we want to be on Substack yet when we first join. And so you don't have to feel like, well, when I go on Substack, I'm going to replicate what I'm doing everywhere else. It can be
Right.
it can become your playground. You can decide, you know what, I'm going to create a Substack where, because like I didn't know, Deb, I mean, I guess because I'd always thought of you more as like the goal person and the book writing person, that you were into all this food stuff. Well, you could have your Substack could have just been, this is where I do my food stuff, right? And you can have another like you do now. You have 3 Substacks, and that's perfectly fine.
Well,
So,
in one of the Substacks, I am a contributor. I take my Taste Buds with Deb articles and videos, and I actually repurpose them on the Judith Substack, which is arts and culture publication.
right.
So
I think,
so yes.
going back to Bob's point, right? Follow people, make notes, and then think about, what is it that I want to, create content about that maybe I didn't do before. Because I even would say, in some aspects, I feel like Substack, if you want to call it, I know this is sometimes an overused term, it's a safe space. Nobody's going to beat you up because you created a Substack about something that, you're not known for elsewhere. They'll be like, oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that, maybe you want to create a Substack about, baseball cards. I mean, it's kind of like, it's a, what do you call it? A blank canvas, and you decide how you want to paint it.
Oh, that's so good. It's a playground. And actually, that's why I started the book proposal Substack, because no one had one. And it was a specialty that was Deb's secret menu. And this is really funny. So Samantha Shapiro Ferraro commented, and she's written 2 Mediterranean cookbooks. And I actually coached her. Were your ears burning, Sam? As I am working on the new website, thebookproposalexpert.com, I had put up the testimonial she gave me for helping her prep for her book meeting on that. Really funny. And she agrees. Most platforms we share on, it's slow, but it's like anything you create, social or anti-social social media, if you contract with someone, they're going to make you contract for 3 months. If you hire someone to get you on the media, it's got to be at least 3 to 6 months, because everything is slow and they can't guarantee. So why wouldn't we take that same mentality toward a new playground, aka Substack? Go play. And in the case of bookproposals.substack.com, I said, what content do I want to create? I want to answer questions. How am I going to do it? I guess I'll create a podcast. And apparently now I have to have a live show because Jim told me I needed to. So I love that the playground mentality, especially and going back to the early days of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is nothing now like it was back then. We were still feeling our way around. And if you think about it that way, think about what Substack could be in 20 years. And we're going to look back on, do you remember those early days of Substack?
Yep.
They're nodding if you are listening. Okay, guys, this has been amazing. And we could talk all day, but we probably shouldn't. Where can people learn more about you both, and what are your Substacks? Bob?
My Substack is I'm Bob Woods. I am BOBWOODS .substacks.com. I wish I had Bob Woods, but some hockey coach somewhere has that, and he hasn't done a thing with it. So I am not real happy about that. But anyhow, it's the closest I could come to it. I'm bobwoods.substack.com.
I love that you did I am and not I am. It just feels more of your personality to use the conjunction.
No, thanks. Appreciate that.
Jim,
I actually struggled with that. So
did you?
Yeah.
I know, I
yeah, a
love
little
it.
bit.
I think it's great.
Well,
Jim?
because I didn't know any better when I first started. Mine was jimfuhs.substack.com. I don't know if I could have come up with anything different, but at least, right, it's more about me, because I think sometimes with the whole branding thing, yes, I own Fusion Marketing, but people know me as Jim Fuhs. And as we, we probably could all joke, is like, you really couldn't buy my business because my business is me.
Yep.
And I am, as I said before, bookproposals.substack.com. And I believe deboraheckerling.substack.com is the one that goes to the Gold Chat Substack. And I might have to, I'm not going to do it this week because you're going to put up the recap, but I might start sharing my recaps there as well. I mean, what's copying and pasting to one more platform? And you can learn more. You can go to the debmethod.com/blog in the meantime to get the recaps and watch the replays. And you can also subscribe to Gold Chat on the Marketing Podcast Network on your favorite place to get your podcasts. And if you need a little extra, motivation for those goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting. And or tune in live every Monday at 4 p.m. Usually every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Eventually, maybe Substack. We'll see. Wow, I'm like, my head's gonna explode, which means it's if you've got too many to-dos. It's been a great conversation. What final thought would you like to leave us with, Bob? Final thought?
Final thought. Yeah, it's just about really going out there authentically, going out there wanting to help people. One of my favorite quotes that was not mine, but I use it so often that I forget to even say it anymore. But it's stop talking about how you help people and just help people.
Oh yeah, I hear that from you guys all the time. Use Social Sales Link.
Yep.
Awesome, friends. Don't talk about it, just help, because you've got your gift, you've got your specialty. It is the perfect playground. Okay, Jim, final thought.
Stop resisting change. I think that what I tend to find is people say, well, but I'm on Facebook and I have this big group. And it's like, but is it really doing anything for you? Or you're just stuck in the past that at one time this was like my Valhalla? No, go to Substack and get started, and you can rebuild that tribe over there.
I resemble that remark, because did I not say that? Right On Online has been on Facebook for many years, and it will always live there for the people who are still there. But I am contemplating other places to create community, because when it goes down to it, and I think we started this conversation talking about community, we're all in this together. Networking is not a dirty word. It is the first step in relationship development, because you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. And I'm so blessed to have so many awesome people in my tribe like you, Jim and Bob. Thank you so much for sharing your love of Substack today. Thank you for tuning in. And you've got plenty of homework, as do we. Go on out there, go play on Substack. Go for it, because we know you can do it.
Well, thank you, and it was great to get a chance to hang out with Bob again, and you as well, Deborah.
Always a pleasure, guys. Go for it.